The stars filled the night sky above Lake Michigan. Frank Mason stood on the beach with his old telescope, the same one his father had given him when he was 10. For 30 years, he had looked up at those distant lights and wondered if anyone was looking back. On May 15, 2087, the whole world got their answer. Frank was making coffee in his Chicago apartment when the emergency alert blared from every device. He rushed to his window and saw people pointing up at the sky. Through breaks in the clouds he could see them, massive ships, at least a dozen, hovering silently above the city. "This is not a drill," the television announcer said, her voice shaking. "Unknown vessels have appeared in Earth's orbit. Military forces worldwide are on high alert." For 3 days the ships just watched. They made no move to attack. They sent no messages. They just hung in the sky like dark moons, changing everything about what it meant to be human. On the 4th day, they finally spoke. Commander Alan Wright stood on the observation deck of the lunar base, his heart pounding as the alien signal came through. Next to him, Dr. Olivia Patel worked quickly to translate the message. "I think I've got it," she said, pushing her red hair back from her face. "They're asking to meet. They call themselves the Galactic Council." Alan leaned over her shoulder to read the screen. "A federation of 17 advanced species," he read, "and they want to talk to us." "Should we trust them?" Olivia asked, looking up at the massive ships through the base's viewport. Alan watched as one of the vessels moved smoothly into a new position. Their technology was clearly hundreds of years ahead of Earth's best efforts. "Do we have a choice?" he replied. Within a week, Earth's top leaders gathered in the newly built First Contact Center in Geneva. The council sent Ambassador Zexthar as their representative. He stood 7 feet tall with smooth blue skin that shimmered like metal under the lights. His 4 arms each ended in 6-fingered hands, and his eyes, 3 of them, blinked sideways. "People of Earth," Zexthar said, his voice deep and musical. "Today marks the beginning of a new chapter for your species." The alien spoke perfect English, explaining that the council had studied Earth's languages and cultures for decades before making contact. "We offer you membership in our Galactic Council," Zexthar continued. "We will share our technology, our medicine, and open our trade routes to you." All 17 member species began as you are now, alone, limited to one world, wondering what waits beyond the stars. President Catherine Bell, a tough former general with short gray hair, asked the question everyone wanted answered. "What do you want from us?" Zexthar's skin rippled in what they later learned was a smile. "Only permission to build a small research outpost in your asteroid belt. The minerals there are valuable to our scientists." Over the next week, the council showed Earth's leaders amazing technology. Machines that could cure cancer, engines that could reach Mars in days instead of months, and food production systems that could end world hunger. "I don't trust them," Alan whispered to Olivia during one demonstration. "It seems too good to be true." "Maybe we're just cynical," she replied. "Maybe there really are advanced civilizations that want to help others." After much debate, President Bell signed the Treaty of Saul with great ceremony. The world celebrated with parties and fireworks. Religions struggled to make sense of humanity's new place in the universe. The stock market soared as companies partnered with alien firms. For 6 wonderful months, the future looked brighter than ever before. Council medical technology cured diseases that had killed millions. Their engineers helped build a thriving colony on Mars. Their scientists shared knowledge that advanced Earth's technology by decades in weeks. Alan was transferred to the new Mars base, while Olivia stayed on the Moon to work directly with Council scientists. Neither of them saw the betrayal coming. On a quiet Sunday morning, Lieutenant Pete Dixon was monitoring communication signals at the Mars base when he noticed something strange. "Commander Wright," he called out. "I'm picking up unusual energy, readings from the Council outpost in the asteroid belt." Alan frowned at the readouts. The signals were much stronger than anything a research station should produce. "Contact Earth," he ordered. "Tell them." The room shook as a massive explosion lit up the Martian sky. On the monitors, Alan watched in horror as massive energy weapons fired from hidden places throughout the solar system. Earth's defense platforms disappeared in flashes of light. Council ships released thousands of small drones that surrounded Earth like a swarm of metal insects. "Get me the president," Alan shouted. In her underground bunker beneath Denver, President Bell watched the disaster unfold on a wall of screens. The drones had begun their work, harvesting Earth's atmosphere. Already oxygen levels were dropping in major cities. "They never wanted an alliance," she said, her voice hollow. "We were just resources to them." Emergency broadcasts showed people collapsing in the streets as the air grew thin. Hospitals were overwhelmed. The Council's ships, once seen as symbols of hope, now blocked escape as millions died below. In the days that followed, Earth learned the terrible truth. The Council had done this before. They would find developing worlds, gain their trust with gifts and promises, then strip the planets of everything valuable. Earth was just the latest victim in their centuries-old pattern. Alan and Olivia managed to meet in an emergency bunker under what was once Chicago. Around them, thousands of survivors huddled in the dim light, breathing recycled air. "How many made it?" Alan asked, looking at the tired faces around them. "Maybe 300 million worldwide," Olivia replied. "Out of 8 billion. The weight of it crushed down on Alan's shoulders. Most of humanity was gone. The Council ship still circled overhead, harvesting what remained of Earth's resources. "We can't fight them," a young engineer named Steve Bailey said. "Their weapons are too powerful." "We can't match their firepower," Alan agreed, looking at the tactical displays showing the overwhelming Council forces. "But they've made one critical mistake." "What's that?" asked Steve. Alan's eyes hardened as he looked around at the survivors. Scientists, soldiers, farmers, teachers, all with the same determined look. They assumed we'd surrender. 5 years passed. Earth looked dead. The blue planet was now brown and gray. Its air was nearly gone. Its oceans were mostly dry holes. Alien mining machines dug everywhere, taking everything useful. But humans are hard to kill. Deep underground, in old subway tunnels beneath the ruins of Boston, Lucy Chen woke up on her small bed. The bunker lights were set to mimic sunrise, but she hadn't seen the real sun in years. She pulled on her faded blue jumpsuit and headed to the community kitchen. "Morning, Doc," she said to Jack Flores, who sat alone with a cup of something that wasn't really coffee. Jack looked up from his tablet. Dark circles ringed his eyes. Before the invasion, he had been a brilliant physicist at MIT. Now, at 38, he looked 60. "Lucy," he nodded. "Ready for today's test?" She gulped down a breakfast of lab-grown protein and synthetic fruit. "Always ready." The two walked through crowded tunnels where 5,000 people now lived. Children ran past them, laughing despite everything. Teachers held classes in corners, teaching math and survival skills. Doctors treated patients in makeshift clinics. Everyone had jobs. Everyone had purpose. In a large room that had once been a subway station, they entered Jack's lab. The sign outside read, "Project Phoenix," with a drawing of a bird rising from flames. Inside, 20 scientists and engineers worked on strange equipment built from a mix of human and alien technology. "How's our test subject?" Jack asked, pointing to a small piece of alien equipment in a sealed chamber. "Still responding," said Ben Ford, a former electrical engineer. "The signal disruption is holding at 72%. Lucy looked through the glass at the alien device. 5 years ago, she had been just a college student. Now she led a team of resistance fighters who stole alien technology for Jack's lab. "The Council doesn't understand humans," Jack said, studying readings on a screen. "They think we're animals. They think we'll give up." Lucy smiled. "That's their mistake." In another part of the lab, Kelly Ward, a former Marine with short gray hair, watched as resistance members trained with weapons. Some were modified human guns. Others were stolen alien tech that they had learned to use. "Faster!" she barked at a young man struggling with assembly. "In the field, you'll have seconds, not minutes." Miles away, in a similar bunker beneath Chicago, Commander Alan Wright met with Dr. Olivia Patel via secure video link. "Phoenix Base reports another successful test," Olivia said, her image flickering on the old screen. Jack thinks we're ready for the next phase. Alan nodded, studying maps showing council mining operations across what had once been the United States. And the device? We're calling it the Nemesis Protocol, Olivia replied. It's very small, easy to hide, and incredibly powerful. Once activated, it will spread through their entire network. Alan looked at the faces of his team gathered around. The table, soldiers, scientists, teachers, farmers, all now freedom fighters. We've lost so much, he said quietly. But we're still here, and we're about to show the council what happens when you corner humans. High above Earth, on the main council ship, High Commander Dresmore stared out at the dead planet below. His blue skin had lost some of its shine during his 5 years overseeing this mining operation. Another equipment failure at the Arctic site, reported his second-in-command Vexlar. The third this month. Dresmore frowned. And the investigation? Nothing found, Vexlar said. Perhaps it's just the planet's extreme conditions, or poor maintenance. And the missing patrol near the ruins of Denver? Vexlar waved one of his four hands dismissively. Probably a tunnel collapse. This planet is geologically unstable. Dresmore wasn't convinced. 5 years, Vexlar. 5 years, and we're still finding human survivors. No other species lasted this long. They're just animals hiding in holes, Vexlar replied. They pose no real threat. Our scans show fewer than 1 million remain, scattered in small groups. Perhaps, Dresmore said, but he couldn't shake his worry. Back on Earth, in a hidden facility, beneath the ruins of Phoenix, Dr. Diane Morris carefully examined an alien neural interface device under a microscope. She had been a biologist before the invasion. Now she studied alien technology instead of human cells. I think I've got it, she said to the team watching her work. See this connection point? It's the master control for their entire command network. She looked up at President Bell, who had aged greatly in 5 years but still stood tall. The former world leader now wore the same simple jumpsuit as everyone else. Every council ship, weapon, and facility depends on these neural interfaces, Diane explained. Their entire species evolved to use technology as an extension of their brains. Can we use this against them? Asked Commander Sam Evans, head of the remaining military forces. Diane smiled for the first time in years. We already are. Those random equipment failures they're experiencing, that's us testing small versions of the Nemesis device, and they haven't even noticed. Jack Flores walked to a secure cabinet and entered a code. Inside was a small device, no bigger than a walnut. This is it, he said, holding it up. The Nemesis Protocol. Once activated, it sends a signal that disrupts their neural network. We can control their technology, shut it down, or even reverse it. President Bell looked around the room at the resistance leaders. 5 years ago, they came to our world with lies. They took our air, our water, and killed billions of us. She paused, looking at each face in turn. They thought we would surrender or die. They were wrong. Tomorrow we show them just how wrong. Commander Evans nodded. All teams are in position. Operation Silent Strike begins at dawn. The sun rose over what was once the Amazon rainforest. Now it was just a giant hole where aliens dug for metals. The mining facility stretched for miles, with huge machines pulling resources from deep in the ground. Robotic workers moved like ants sorting and loading materials onto waiting ships. Facility Commander Krovex sat in his control room, bored. He had never seen a living human. Like most council officers, he thought humans were nearly extinct. He cared only about meeting his mining quotas and earning praise from his bosses. His morning routine was the same every day: check production numbers, file reports, inspect key areas, then relax until the next shift. But today would be different. Sir, security sensors show a possible breach in Sector 7, said a junior officer. Krovex sighed. Probably another system error. They've been happening a lot lately. Send a maintenance team. What Krovex didn't know was that Rita Barnes and her team had already entered the facility. Rita had been a software engineer in Seattle before the invasion. Now she led 6 resistance fighters on the most important mission of their lives. Rita moved quietly through the dim service tunnels following memorized maps. Her team carried small backpacks with their precious cargo, Nemesis devices. "Central processor is 2 levels down," she whispered into her small radio. "Team 2, are you in position?" "Yes," replied Marcus Owens, leader of the 2nd Infiltration Team. "We're at the backup access point. No aliens in sight." Rita nodded to her team. "Let's move." Across the planet, other resistance teams were entering. 23 key council facilities at the exact same time. Their mission: plant Nemesis devices at critical network points. From a hidden base on the moon, Dr. Patel and Jack Flores watched dots move on a big screen. Each dot was a team on Earth. "First team has reached their target," Dr. Patel said, watching Rita's signal. Device placement in progress. In the Amazon facility, Rita carefully opened an access panel and located the main processor. It hummed with blue light, connecting this facility to the Council's network. She took a small device from her backpack, the Nemesis protocol, and attached it to the alien hardware. The tiny device lit up as it connected. Its special circuits began to silently link with the Council's systems, creating hidden access points while staying invisible to security. "Device is active," Rita confirmed. "Beginning exit plan." One by one, teams around the world reported success. 21 teams had placed their devices without being seen. 2 teams were caught and had to fight their way out, but even their battles helped by distracting the aliens while nearby teams finished their work. As the last team reported in, Jack Flores looked at President Bell in their lunar command center. "It's time," he said, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "Once we activate Nemesis, there's no going back." The aging president looked at the people around her, scientists, soldiers, and ordinary civilians who had survived the worst disaster in human history. "Do it," she ordered. Jack nodded and entered a code on his keyboard. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, across the solar system, Council technology began to malfunction. On the main Council ship orbiting Earth, high, Commander Dresmore was speaking with Galactic Council headquarters when sudden pain shot through his neural interface. Around him, other officers fell to the floor holding their heads. The ship's gravity went crazy and alarms blared from every speaker. "What's happening?" he demanded, but the ship's computer didn't answer. Instead, a human face appeared on all screens. "Commander Wright. This message is being sent to all Council forces in the Sol system," Wright said calmly. "For 5 years you thought you had conquered Earth. You were wrong. We have entered your network, and as you now see, we control your technology." Dresmore stared in shock as his ship's systems shut down one by one. Reports flooded in from other ships and bases throughout the system, all facing the same problems. "You have 2 hours to remove all Council personnel from Earth and its orbit," Wright continued. "Anyone still here after that time will face the same fate as the billions of humans who died during your invasion." The Nemesis protocol spread through the Council's network like a wildfire, using their own communication system against them. Their neural interfaces, the technology that gave them power over primitive species, became their biggest weakness. In the Amazon facility, Rita watched from a hiding spot as alien workers suddenly dropped their tools and ran for emergency ships. Overhead lights flickered and machines ground to a halt. On a nearby screen, a countdown appeared: 1:59:42, 1:59:41. "It's working," Marcus said beside her. "They're running." Similar scenes played out worldwide. Alien mining operations stopped. Transport ships lost power and drifted in space, and everywhere, the countdown timer warned of humanity's deadline. On the lunar base, Commander Wright watched satellite images showing Council evacuation ships launching from Earth. "Status report," he ordered. "Council forces are evacuating all surface facilities," reported a young officer. "Orbital vessels are powering up emergency drives." President Bell stood silently, watching the screens. "And the Nemesis control?" "Full access to their network," Jack Flores confirmed. "We can control or disable any Council technology in the system." As the countdown reached 1 hour, most Council forces had already fled. Only the command ship remained in high orbit, trying desperately to regain control of its systems. High Commander Dresmore faced a difficult decision. His crew was in pain from malfunctioning neural interfaces. His ship was barely operational, and the countdown continued relentlessly. "Prepare for emergency jump," he ordered finally. "We're leaving the Sol system." As the massive command vessel turned away from Earth, Dresmore sent one final message to the humans below. "This isn't over," he warned. "The Council will return with forces you cannot imagine." Commander Wright received the message but didn't bother to reply. Instead, he watched as the last Council ship disappeared into deep space. For the first time, in 5 years, Earth belonged to humans again. In the Lunar Command Center, cheers erupted. People hugged and cried. Some fell to their knees in prayer. But Wright, Bell, and the other leaders knew this was just the beginning. "They'll be back," Wright said quietly to President Bell. "And they'll bring their entire fleet." Bell nodded. "But we have something they don't expect." "What's that?" asked Jack Flores. "Their entire military database," she replied with a small smile. "While they were running, Nemesis copied everything. Their fleet positions, their battle plans, and, most importantly, evidence of every world they've conquered." Wright's eyes widened. "You mean—" "Yes," Bell said. "We're not just fighting for Earth anymore. It's time to take this to the Galactic Council itself." 3 months after humans drove the aliens from Earth, a special human team stood in the Great Hall of the Galactic Council. The massive room was carved from a giant asteroid that orbited a distant star. Hundreds of different alien species filled the seats, watching with curious eyes. Admiral Wright, who used to be Commander Wright, led the Earth team. Beside him stood President Bell, Dr. Patel, Jack Flores, and others who had helped save Earth. They faced the 17 High Counselors, the leaders of the oldest alien species who controlled the Council's government and military. "This is not normal," said High Counselor Vextra, a blob-like alien floating in a clear container. "No non-member species has ever demanded to speak here. No species has ever turned your own technology against you either," Admiral Wright replied calmly. The room buzzed with whispers. News of Earth's revenge had shocked the galaxy. For thousands of years, the Council had taken resources from developing worlds while pretending to be good leaders to its members. Earth was supposed to be just another conquered planet. Instead, humans had not only survived but had kicked the Council out of the entire solar system. Even more shocking, they had stolen the Council's military records, which proved they had conquered hundreds of similar worlds. "We come for justice," President Bell said, her voice strong despite her age. "Not just for Earth, but for every world your Council has betrayed." On huge screens around the hall, Dr. Patel began showing evidence. Council meetings planning Earth's conquest, messages between fleet commanders discussing how to strip the planet, and most damning of all, the Council's own secret list of worlds they plan to target next. "For the past 3 months, Jack Flores explained, we've been studying your complete military database. The Nemesis Protocol didn't just give us control of your ships in our system, it gave us access to your entire network." The crowd of aliens murmured loudly. Many had not known about the Council's secret conquests, believing it was truly a peaceful group of advanced civilizations. High Counselor Dresitra stood up, his blue metal skin shining under the lights. "These humans exaggerate. Yes, we took resources from their primitive world, but that's the right of advanced species. They would do the same if they could." "Would we?" asked Rita Barnes, stepping forward. During the fight to free Earth, she had become one of humanity's most powerful speakers. "That's the big difference between us, Counselor. You assume that because you would betray, everyone would betray. You put your own bad qualities on us." The room fell silent as Rita continued. "We've studied your history. For 10,000 years, your Council has believed that being stronger gives you the right to hurt others, that having better technology means you can do whatever you want. Earth rejects this idea." Admiral Wright activated a screen showing the Nemesis Protocol's code. "We didn't come here for revenge. If that's what we wanted, we could have used this technology to shut down Council neural interfaces across the galaxy. Millions of your people would have died, just like millions of ours did." Instead, President Bell continued, we come with a plan. A complete rebuilding of the Galactic Council with new rules to protect developing worlds and help those you've already hurt. The human team presented their demands. The current council leaders would face trial for crimes against other species, a new charter would ban conquest and resource theft, and a system of checks and balances would ensure no species could control the reformed council. And if we refuse? Asked High Counselor Vexitra. Jack Flores smiled slightly. The Nemesis protocol is still embedded in your network. We've shown we can control your technology from anywhere. We would prefer not to use that power, but make no mistake, we will protect ourselves and other vulnerable worlds. The debate lasted for days. Many council members, learning the full truth about their leaders for the first time, sided with Earth. Others, especially those who had gained the most from conquering developing worlds, fought hard against the changes. In the end, the evidence was too strong to ignore. The council voted to accept Earth's terms, beginning a new era in galactic government. 1 year later, Admiral Wright stood on the bridge of the newly built ship EDS Resilience, Earth's first true starship. Beside him, Dr. Patel and Jack Flores watched as the crew prepared for their first journey beyond the solar system. The council reforms are going better than we expected, Dr. Patel said, looking at updates on her tablet. 17 previously conquered species have been given membership and help. 29 worlds are receiving aid to repair damage. And the Nemesis Protocol? Wright asked. Jack Flores nodded. Still in place, but inactive. A safety measure, nothing more. As the Resilience moved away from Earth, Wright thought about humanity's journey. From nearly being wiped out to becoming the moral compass of galactic civilization, it was not a role they had wanted, but one they had earned through their refusal to give up, even in the darkest times. The ship's captain, Lisa Daniels, approached. Where to first, Admiral? Wright smiled. According to old council records, there's a developing civilization in the Cygnus star system. They were next on the conquest list. I think they deserve a proper first contact, don't you? Captain Daniels nodded, setting course for Cygnus. The Resilience's engines glowed bright blue as the ship accelerated to faster than light speed. It carried humanity's message to the stars. Never again would advanced civilizations be allowed to prey on developing ones. The galaxy was entering a new age, one where cooperation and respect would replace conquest. And if any dared to return to the old ways, Earth stood ready to deliver devastating revenge once more. 3 months after that first mission, Admiral Wright and President Bell stood in the new Hall of Nations on the rebuilt Galactic Council station. Representatives from over 200 worlds, including many freed from council control, had gathered to sign the new Galactic Charter. Today marks the beginning of true cooperation between worlds, President Bell said in her address to the gathered species. Not based on power or fear, but on mutual respect and support. A young alien diplomat from a world that had been scheduled for conquest before Earth's intervention approached Wright. My people have a saying, the diplomat said. The strongest metal is forged in the hottest fire. Earth was nearly destroyed, yet you emerged stronger than any species we've known. Wright smiled. We humans have a similar saying. But we've learned something important. True strength isn't about having the biggest weapons or the most advanced technology. What is it then? Asked the diplomat. Knowing when to use power and when to show mercy, Wright replied. Your world was next on their list. We could have let you face the same fate as Earth. Instead, we chose to break the cycle. As the new Galactic Charter was signed, Wright knew that humanity's greatest revenge wasn't destroying their enemies. It was building something better from the ashes of what had nearly destroyed them, and that was a victory that would echo across the stars for generations to come. End of story.